Think about this for a second. Have you ever heard of a man who took on a Royal Bengal tiger with just a dagger and actually won? Or a revolutionary so incredibly brave, the very police commissioner hunting him down said his statue belonged on Downing Street? Well, today, we're talking about that man. This is the story of someone who lived and died like an absolute lion. Jatindranath Mukherjee, a name history will never forget as Bagha Jatin.
I mean, that is just staggering praise, right? Especially when you realize who it's coming from. Charles Taggart wasn't some admirer. He was the enemy. He was the head of the British police force, and his entire job was to crush the Indian independence movement. So this wasn't some friendly compliment. This was a soldier's salute to an adversary he deeply respected.
So, yeah, that's the big question we're diving into. What kind of person inspires that level of awe in the very man who's been tasked with hunting him down? To really get it, we have to go back to the moment that didn't just forge his name, but his entire spirit.
You see, long before he decided to take on the entire British Empire, Jatindranath Mukherjee faced a very different, much more primal kind of predator. This is the origin story of how a man became a legend, earning a name that would echo through India's long fight for freedom.
Jatin was born in a village called Koya, which is in modern-day Bangladesh, and even from a young age, people knew him for his incredible courage. But in 1906, that courage got put to the ultimate test. A full-grown Royal Bengal tiger was terrorizing his village, and, well, someone had to do something about it.
And look, the sheer audacity here is just staggering. This wasn't some planned hunt with rifles and a big team of people. No, this was one man with one small dagger deciding to face one of the most powerful predators on the planet. The fight was absolutely brutal, just a raw battle of will and muscle. He was horribly injured, but he won. And from that day on, he wasn't just Jatin anymore. He was Bagha Jatin, Tiger Jatin.
So, after defeating a literal tiger, Bagha Jatin set his sights on a much, much larger beast, the British Empire. As the commander-in-chief of the Jugantar Revolutionary Group, which was the secret society all about armed rebellion, he started putting together a plan so ambitious it was designed to set the entire Indian subcontinent on fire.
Now for him, this wasn't just some catchy slogan. This was his core philosophy. Jatin truly believed that real freedom demanded the ultimate sacrifice. And that conviction, it was the engine behind every single thing he did as a revolutionary. He wasn't in this for personal glory. He was fighting for a future he was pretty sure he wouldn't live to see.
So with the world plunging into the Great War, Jatin saw a golden opportunity, a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Britain's enemy could become India's friend. The plan was as brilliant as it was incredibly risky: forge a secret alliance with Germany to get the weapons they needed for a full-scale pan-India rebellion. This was a total game-changer, a plan to finally arm the resistance with modern rifles, not just guts and pistols.
The logistics of this plan were just mind-boggling for the time. I mean, we're talking about a covert international operation with secret messages, naval coordination, and ground logistics, all happening right under the nose of the most powerful intelligence network in the world. The goal was simple, but huge. Land a ship packed with German weapons on the Odisha coast, get those weapons to revolutionaries across the country, and kick off a coordinated uprising.
The plan was audacious. It was brilliant. And you know what? It was almost perfect. But in the world of espionage, it just takes one leak, one intercepted message to bring the whole house of cards crashing down. The hunters were about to become the hunted.
Somehow, the British got wind of the German arms shipment. And just like that, the entire imperial state machine, led by Charles Taggart himself, became laser-focused on one single objective: find Bagha Jatin and his inner circle. The grand plan for a revolution had just turned into a desperate, frantic race for survival.
Tracked down and cornered, Bagha Jatin and his four most loyal comrades, Chittapriya, Manoranjan, Niran, and Joshish, found themselves with their backs against the wall. They were near the banks of the Burhi Balam River in Odisha, and for them, surrender was simply not an option. This was where they would make their last stand.
You can just imagine the tension in the air. That morning, they dug themselves into makeshift trenches, using a small hill for cover, a smart tactical move. They were getting ready for what they knew was coming. By the afternoon, they were completely surrounded. And what happened next wasn't an arrest. It was a full-on battle, a firefight that raged for hours.
And this, right here, this just perfectly illustrates the impossible odds they were up against. You've got 5 men,
with very little ammunition, against the entire organized might of the British Raj. This wasn't a fight they ever expected to win. This was a fight to make a statement, that they would rather die on their feet than live on their knees.
Just five men who decided to take on an entire empire. That number, it says everything about their commitment and about the incredible bond they all shared. They knew this was the end of the line, and they chose to face it together.
The gunfight was absolutely relentless. Chittapriya Chowdhury was the first to fall, dying right there in the trenches. Bagha Jatin himself, he fought like a cornered tiger until he was riddled with bullets, gravely wounded. The battle did eventually end, but the story, it wasn't quite over yet.
You see, the final act of this whole tragedy didn't happen on the battlefield with guns blazing. No, it played out in the quiet, sterile room of a hospital. And it was here that Bagha Jatin would have his final confrontation, not with weapons, but with words.
Just imagine that scene for a moment. Jatin is dying, and standing before him is Charles Tegart, the very man who hunted him down. The revolution has failed, his comrades are either captured or dead. This should be the moment of his greatest defeat, and yet, what he does next becomes his greatest victory.
With what little breath he had left, he used his last moments not to curse his enemy, not to regret his failure, but to protect his men. He took full responsibility for the entire conspiracy, trying to clear his comrades of any crime. It was his final act as a leader, just this profound, selfless gesture of integrity. It was that moment, that display of unwavering honor even as he was dying, that so deeply impressed Charles Tegart. Jatin had lost the battle, for sure, but he had won a moral victory that went way beyond the conflict itself, earning the undying respect of the very man who had defeated him.
In the end, Bagha Jatin lived by his code. And his life, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What does it mean to fight for a cause you know you might never see succeed? His story is just this powerful testament to the idea that some victories aren't measured by land you've won, but by the spirit of defiance you pass on to the next generation.